Our objective today, say it with me now. We're going to identify the type of conflict taking place in an excerpt from a totally lit novel series in order to determine the tone of the story and, most importantly, track how the tone shifts from paragraph to paragraph. That's our objective because they're so important to post. How's it going? So this post is going to be completely self-indulgent because something I've been wanting to talk about for quite a while now is a really totally lit young adult series called The Evil Librarian, and specifically a excerpt from the third book, spoiler alert, caught my eye because it just so perfectly captured the conflict of the story and really demonstrated how well this author can shift tones very quickly over just a few paragraphs. So for today's close reading quest, we're going to examine a very short excerpt from The Curse of the Evil Librarian. It's a fun series, you should check it out anyways, and hopefully this little teaser will get you interested in reading all 3 books. For this close reading quest, I recommend taking along your tone word bank, print it out, paste it to your writer's journal, and because we're going to use it again and again. If this is your first time using this quest item tool, take a second to circle 5 words you can't define. You've never seen them before, you really don't know what they mean. And of course, underline 5 words you know for show. You could describe them, you could teach them to someone else. Now, if you need a refresher about the types of conflict that are present or could be present in a story, I have included a link to my favorite slide deck from The Most Dangerous Game. There's internal conflict, which is also self versus self. What's going on in that noggin? But there's also outside conflict, external conflict. And there's different types of external conflict. There's man versus man, man versus beast, and of course, man versus nature. What conflicts are you suffering from right now, right this minute? That's a quick write, that's an opener. Okay, so I got my notebook to take notes. I have my excerpt. I printed it out, the 1 page I'm reading from Curse of the Evil Librarian, so I can annotate on it, because I don't want to mark it up in the book. I'm just kidding, I mark up in all my books. But for a lesson, you know. So the tricky part about conflict is, and you want to write this down in your own writer's journal as your notes, there's a couple of ingredients in conflict, and by a couple I mean 2. You got characters plus a situation equals a problem, the conflict. The conflict is the problem. So I'm going to read through this 1 page from Curse of the Evil Librarian. And first thing, I'm just going to cuss it out, circle, underline, and star, and I'm going to circle the names of characters, or at least just characters. If they don't have a name, I know there'll be a character. I'm going to circle characters. When I arrive, there's a letter waiting from Peter. Oh, circle that. Peter writes me letters now. It is a thing that he does, a very Peter kind of thing. I don't see a problem with that. The whole Peter subject is still kind of a touchy one because of the way that I kissed him that one time. Just one time. It was just one time. And I get it, of course. I do. Ryan feels about Peter the way I feel about Jules. Ooh, is this a triangle? Jules, circle Jules, who is luckily far away and is only a summer camp issue. I know Ryan is in touch with her. That could be bad. Which is fine, of course, because they are just friends. Girl. And they should totally be in touch whenever they want, as long as I don't have to see or hear about her. Starting to sense the conflict here, that there's something going on. And Ryan lets me sort of pretend that she doesn't exist. Well, how nice. Peter, on the other hand, is only about an hour away. I have no doubt that his selection of high school was very deliberate. Far enough that I couldn't really object on any reasonable grounds, but close enough for him to be able to make a nuisance of himself. I don't know, I kind of like Peter. He sounds like a fun guy. Well, a potential nuisance. Anyway, to be fair, he has not once shown up or interfered in our lives or otherwise abused his relatively close proximity, but he likes to remind us that he's there. A lot. 2 words. And the way that he does this is by sending me letters. Oh, it's pretty romantic. I told him from the very beginning that I show them all to Ryan because I'm not keeping anything from Ryan on that front, except of course for the dreams I still have about Peter, which do not count. I don't discuss those with anyone, not even Annie. Annie? A BFF perhaps? There are some things a girl just has to keep to herself, for herself. I mean to herself. And it's not like I dream about him on purpose or that I would really ever do any of those things with him. Never mind what things. The end. That's fun. So how many names we got here? We got Peter, we got Ryan, we got Jules, we got Annie. I gotta write this out. Peter writes letters to the narrator. We don't know her name, right? Not from this excerpt. You will when you read the book. And the narrator, she apparently is with Ryan. And Ryan had a summer camp thing with Jules, but now they're just friends. All these status updates, man, it's complicated. And then there's Annie. Annie just seems to be a friend of the narrator, so nothing to worry about there, right? The narrator wants to forget Jules exists. And Ryan does not like Peter. Probably some jealousy issues there. So what types of conflict are there? Obviously, you want to pause here and come up with your own answers. So we're going to pause. No, I mean, don't actually like hit the button. Okay, so obviously I see in just my read through here, there is an internal conflict. Could you describe the internal conflict? Can you point to where in the text you can find textual evidence that would support your assumption there? So I would say the internal conflict, if I was gonna label these paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3, the internal conflict I see is, I see some in 1, I see some in 3, I see a big one in 3. My favorite internal conflict, I'll just give this one to you. My favorite internal conflict is that the narrator keeps having dreams about Peter. Oh, and she's a little embarrassed about it, but kind of likes it. Oh, so good. So that's a funny one. Where's the external conflict? I think it's loaded with external conflict. The narrator has external conflict with Jules. We might assume Jules has external conflict with the narrator because they both would fight over Ryan. Ryan has an external conflict by the way of Peter, who sounds awesome. So there's our conflict. Now that we understand the conflict though, can we get a better grasp on what the tone is? What I want you to do is go to your tone word bank and use that for help. And let's just look at paragraph 1. Starting at, the whole Peter subject is still kind of a touchy one because of the way that I kissed him that one time. And I get it, of course I do. Ryan feels about Peter the way I feel about Jules, who is luckily far away and is only a summer camp issue. I know Ryan is in touch with her, which is fine, of course, because they are just friends. And they should totally be in touch whenever they want, as long as I don't have to see her or hear her, and Ryan lets me sort of pretend that she doesn't exist. So, easy tone words, is she angry, sad, happy? I would definitely say she's not happy. That's the tone word that I would say this paragraph is not, would be happy. What's some tone words to describe this? I think she feels, is jealousy a tone? Insecure, that's a good tone.
I think she may feel a little embarrassed about kissing Peter and probably liking it a little bit. So those are some tone words I would throw just off the top of my head. So I did paragraph 1. Paragraph 2 and 3, you're on your own. I want to see what you come up with, and leave your response in the FlipGrid, because FlipGrid's awesome. Check it out. All right, Stark's turn. I'm gonna stop the video.